It's a strange day in the news. Not a lot of big stories popping, but what we do have are some hilarious stories as well, and some really, really just top tier bad takes, especially when it comes to Kamala Harris. Yes, the vice president has been awfully quiet lately, mostly because she's trying to get her office together, because it's right up there with Harvey Weinstein's office as being one of the most disorganized and worst places to work in the entire country. But she came out recently and had just a fucking galaxy brain take on this one. Voter ID could mean people have to copy ID and send it in, and people live in areas where there isn't a Kinko's or OfficeMax. What? You know, that government issued ID, you'd have to send in a copy to the government in order for them to put you on a voter roll. That is one of the dumbest fucking things I think I've ever heard in my entire life. Okay, that I know I've said that a lot recently, like in the past week, but this is from the apparent number 2 in the entire free world, and she thinks because people can't fucking go to a photocopier, or they just don't live close enough to a Xerox machine, therefore voter ID is racist and bad. Okay, pal. During a portion of the interview with BET, she goes to all of the hard-hitting outlets, set to air on Friday, that was broadcast on Thursday morning, CBS this morning. Vice President Kamala Harris responded to a question on whether she'd compromise by agreeing to voter ID provisions to pass voting legislation by stating that we shouldn't downplay the impact voter ID laws could have, because to some, voter ID means you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID. Again, Xerox is a brand, photocopying is the actual practice being discussed, but these are things you don't have to know to be vice president. You have to know how to suck a mean dick. You don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of photocopying. To send it in to prove that you are who you are, and many people live where there are no Kinkos, there's no OfficeMax near them. What? That is such an 85 IQ take. Wow. A journalist, Soledad O'Brien, asked, people are talking about potential compromises. Is agreeing to a voter ID one of the compromises you'd support? And then she rambled into this statement. I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean. The people have to be the people that they say they are, and then they have to prove it by just showing literally anything that has your name and a government seal on it. Okay. Because in some people's mind, okay, so we're running on hypotheticals, so she's going to be setting up a straw man here. Hold on tight. In people's minds, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, like you care about them, who don't. There's no Kinkos, there's no OfficeMax near them. Okay, let me also tell you something. Okay, if they live in rural communities, the thing is, they're probably very likely to, I don't know, maybe have to drive in order to get to places. And in order to drive, at least in the United States, Canada, and pretty much the entire world, you need this little piece of identification called a driver's license. And I think they have that one on file when you go and get it. So, again, you should probably think through the statements that you make, because you're no longer just a faceless Democrat in California. You somehow got to be the vice president of the United States. Let's just finish this one out. People have to understand, you should take your own advice, that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind, likewise, and what you would be required to them to prove who you are. Of course, people have to prove who they are. Okay, so you already concede that. Cool. But not in a way that makes it almost impossible for them to prove who they are. She's so good when she goes off script, right? Yikes. But all of this is in response to, well, what happened in 2020. We can't get into any of the particulars, but what is coming out of that is stronger voter ID laws, which is very necessary. As long as we can circle back around and we can start talking about ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots. Once we get to that kind of stuff, that'd be cool. That'd be wonderful. Voter ID is a separate thing and something that definitely needs to be addressed, because the United States is the only major nation in the world that still has a very less than quality grasp on this issue, and a whole host of red states are taking this very seriously. But you have the governor of Illinois signing in, "Oh no, mail-in ballots for everybody at all times. Don't worry about it. Nothing could possibly go wrong, and there's nothing to see here." It's not like there hasn't been corruption in Chicago and in Illinois for decades and generations. But yeah, it's a blue state, and it's always going to be a blue state because, well, that's just the way fucking shit works, okay? So you got all these new election integrity laws that are coming in, and then you're also having audits. Audits show up as well. And we got another development with Arizona, Maricopa County, that audit there. All of the ballots were supposedly already counted, and then they were going to start moving on to the machinery, and then we were supposed to get some results out of this audit a few weeks into the future. But now Arizona Senate conducting new count of Maricopa County ballots. This is hot off the presses. The ballot cast in Arizona's largest county in the 2020 election will be counted for a third time on orders from the state's Senate. What's going to change on this one? Okay, because we knew that signatures weren't getting matched, and all they were doing was doing a hand recount. So, okay. Nearly 2.1 million ballots submitted in Maricopa County for the presidential contest were tabulated by election officials. They were recounted by hand by audit teams hired by the Arizona Senate in a process that was completed late last month. Now the Senate will do its own recount that will provide a number to compare to those of the county and the auditors. Okay. Double checking the auditor's work. Makes sense. Okay, I'm a little bit more on board with this. Maricopa County says that there's 2,089,563 ballots. We did the hand count, and they're finalizing that number. We just wanted a third number to tie everything together. Make sure that we have more. The more data points, the better. Yeah, I don't disagree. The Arizona Secretary of State, Ken Bennett, the Senate's audit liaison told the Epoch Times, the new count will focus on the number of ballots and will not count the actual votes, unlike the first two tabulations. So yeah, they're just crossing T's and dotting I's with this one. That makes sense. Because that's one of the big things, okay? You've been hearing these little rumors come out there. It's like, oh, okay, some of the numbers are off. So the Senate has the numbers, and now they're going to be getting the ballots. And they're going to be figuring out if those numbers actually match, because, hey, the media's already spinning it that, cyber ninjas and sci-fi, these are just guns for hire. But if the actual Senate does this, it's really hard to spin that narrative that those 5 auditing firms, remember, it's that many that are actually doing this entire audit. Oh, no, yeah, they're just giving them the numbers. They're just giving those nasty Republicans the numbers that they want. No, if the Senate takes a look at how many ballots were there, make sure that they're all there, then yeah, what are you going to fucking complain about? No, they'll figure out something. But it looks like this has sparked something. We talked about some senators, some lawmakers from Pennsylvania coming in, taking a look at what's happening in Maricopa County, assessing the situation, figuring out, hey, you know what, maybe is this something that we want to do? Well, it looks like it is. It looks like there is, and they're laying the groundwork for it. They're going to have to go through certain channels, and could it be happening quickly? I don't really know on this one, but they're going to be facing some big ol' opposition. Pennsylvania's legislature is the Senate and the House are both Republican controlled. The House is a little bit more 50-50-ish. It's about 55-45, but the Senate's a little bit more so Republican controlled. But the thing is, their governor is a complete and total dickhead, and he has his entire opinion on this situation, and we're going to debunk some of his claims. But first and foremost, Republican senator in Pennsylvania briefed on 2020 election audit plan. And you'll probably recognize this senator's name because, yes, he was a part of the caucus that went down there to Maricopa County to figure everything out. And he was also one of the prominent names of the senators that were helping out during November and early December with the challenges that were going on there as well. Republican senators in Pennsylvania were briefed on a plan for an audit of the 2020 election. Again, there's no pending date for this one. We don't even know if it's going to go through, but it's possible. It's very possible, in fact. The private briefing conducted by State Senator Doug Mastriano, that's the dude right there, on Wednesday is a clearest sign yet that lawmakers in the Keystone State are serious about fulfilling the wishes of former President Donald Trump and his supporters who are pressing for copycats of a controversial audit in Arizona. How is it controversial? Yeah, the media doesn't like it. That's about it. And the DNC by proxy. Mastriano even obtained legal advice from a Pennsylvania-based law firm about the GOP caucus using private money to pay for consultants and lawyers. Exactly what the Maricopa County Audit is funded by. It's funded by the Arizona Republican Senate, which is a PAC, and then the Arizona State GOP, which again is a PAC. It's not funded by taxpayer money. This is all by donations. This is all paid for from Republican money that they fundraised for. Okay? If you live in Pennsylvania, you're not paying for this. You could, if you'd like, you can make donations to make this happen. But your tax bill, yeah, it's going to something stupid because it's Pennsylvania, high tax rates, but not like astronomically high tax rates. Better than Canada, trust me. Well, we cannot predict how the Pennsylvania Supreme Court would decide the issue. In our opinion, to a reasonable degree of legal certainty, Pennsylvania law does not prohibit the caucus or committee from attempting or benefiting from such financial support. Lawyer Bruce Marks wrote in a letter, a copy of which was obtained by the Associated Press. I'm sure they didn't spin that out of context whatsoever. Mastriano, the chairman of the Senate Intergovernmental Operations Committee, was one of the Republican lawmakers from the Keystone State to tour Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Phoenix, the location of the GOP-led Arizona Senate audit in Maricopa County's 2020 elections, which is being partially funded by private donors to supplement the $150,000 payment made by Senate Republicans. Exactly. See? Right there. There you go. Taxpayer money. I guess if you want to go ahead and say that the people who get paid who are in the Senate or anybody else who works for the government, if they end up contributing some of the money that they get from their paycheck to the audit, then yeah, you could extrapolate it out that far, but my God, that's not good faith whatsoever. Pennsylvania and Arizona are two states won by President Joe Biden last year. Okay. That post-election audit showed no widespread fraud. No widespread fraud. None whatsoever. Nope. Nope. None. Because you'll never look at the evidence. But after dozens of lawsuits with election fraud allegations and voting irregularities, were rejected by courts around the country before discovery, the partisan audit in Maricopa County became a beacon of hope for Trump and his allies who claim the contest was stolen. And the media is poisoning the well. And even before this potential audit gets underway, because we don't even know if it's going to be a certain county, if it's going to be a certain city, if it's going to be the entire state. Like, what are going to be the parameters of this Pennsylvania audit? Where's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? How's it going to happen? Well, we know if the governor has a say in it, yeah, he's not going to be too kind to it because the fucking used car salesman himself, he's not being too honest, but he's being your typical Tom Wolf self. Pennsylvania audit plan a disgrace to democracy, Governor Tom Wolf says. See what this chinless fuck has to say. That's not him in the video, by the way. That's Doug Mastriano. Far more of a man. Governor Tom Wolf on Thursday said that it is a disgrace to democracy that a Republican state lawmaker is trying to launch what he claims a forensic investigation. Oh, so he knows more about this stuff? Cool. Why would he be causing such a big fuss, even if there's like fucking blueprints of a plan for maybe the scaffolding to be going up at some time into the future? Why would he already be trying to poison the well? Well, I think we know why. Anyways, Wolf, a Democrat, you'd never know by these statements, said on Twitter, that the sham election audit being attempted by Republican State Senator Doug Mastriano is also a profound waste of time and taxpayer money. Again, who's it going to be funded by? Not taxpayers! There you go. In addition to being a disgrace. That could be you after this is all said and done, Tom, but you're just about done being governor of Pennsylvania anyways. Wolf's administration has discouraged counties from cooperating. You could say that about a bunch of things, saying they risk decertifying their voting machines and costing taxpayer millions of dollars. Why? By getting rid of voting machines, the same ones that your party was really against all the way up until 2020? Kate, Also, Thursday, Democratic state senators wrote to officials in Philadelphia and 2 other counties to hide the books. To tell them that they should not comply with Mastriano's request. He's not requesting anything right now. He's just fucking assembling a plan. You guys are already trying to poison the well here. This is quite spectacular, but I didn't expect anything less. Like, we already know that the Wisconsin audit's going to be going forward that's either August or October. So expect similar smear campaigns like this, because they're finding themselves in the exact same situation. Their House and their Senate are controlled by Republicans, but the governor up top, Tony Evers, he's been doing some fucking goofy shit himself, but yeah, he's another one of those poison the well types. And the makeup there is not too dissimilar to that of Pennsylvania. While there are a couple of large cities, it mostly shakes out the exact same way. Like, you got Milwaukee and potentially like Green Bay, where you got 2 big Democratic hubs, just like in Pennsylvania, where you got Pittsburgh and you got Philadelphia. But outside of that, the rest of the state, ruby fucking red. Hence why their representation looks more Republican when you take a look at the legislative level. It's just how it tends to work out. The 4 Democratic members of the committee, chaired by Mastriano, said the letter that elections are not in the purview of the Intergovernmental Operations Committee. Why would that be? Intergovernmental. Okay. Just breaking down the word itself. Intergovernmental. So, he is supposed to be in charge of a committee that works together with other governments from outside the regular purview. That's what inter means. How is doing an audit of a presidential election not fall under that jurisdiction? They're partisan hacks. That's why. They can just get away with saying anything. Just like the governor is saying that taxpayers are going to fund this audit when they clearly aren't. Okay. Mastriano on Wednesday issued letters to Philadelphia and York and Tioga counties, giving officials there a sweeping request for access to documents and equipment, with the threat of subpoenas for holdouts who do not respond affirmatively by the end of July. Okay. He's like, hey, would you like to be early on this? Or we can just get some subpoenas if you'd like. But we all know why these fucking blowhards are just so scared about fucking running the numbers back. Okay, if you guys won by such a large margin to begin with, shouldn't you be fine with another victory lap? Or is it the much more obvious reason that I can't point out over here on YouTube? I think it's probably the latter, but hey, if it's the former, then fine. And all of your bitching and moaning was totally legitimate and definitely wasn't a big old red flag there whatsoever. But we'll see where this goes. We'll see where it ends up. But yeah, if he's taking a look at Philadelphia, I think we know what he might be finding out there. And it's been pretty obvious for a bunch of people for the past 8 months at this point. Can't believe we're here. Anyways, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Catch y'all later.